Hello and welcome to National Pilates Training Community Classes. Today I am with Belinda again and we are doing intermediate Wunda Chair. What you will need today is your large Pilates ball, your fitball exercise ball, and we're going to take a look at how to implement that alongside the Wunda Chair repertoire in today's class. So if you can start lying down in your supine position. And you're going to have your legs stretched out nice and long onto that fit ball. So for Belinda today, she has got her legs in parallel and hip width. She's got just enough of the ball that through leg back down into pelvis. She's already started her breathing. She's focusing on her print and she knows exactly where she is on that mat. So she's feeling the connection from hand through arm into shoulder. She's feeling her neutral pelvis, neutral spine position. And her focus is on that exhalation breath, where she's feeling that relaxation of the sternum pulling down. She's feeling how those lower front ribs are pulling and integrating down towards the pelvis, feeling that abdominal activation. Just as she's breathing, I'm going to give her a little lift up through the head with a small block so she can feel a little bit more length through the back of the neck, reach out through the crown of the head as she breathes. With that gentle head prop, she should feel that she's able to draw the sternum down and get that active integration from breath into abdominal wall. One more. Good. On the next exhale breath, she's going to take an imprint. So feeling that initiates from her core muscles. The tailbone pulls towards the pubic bone pulls towards the sternum to create the posterior tilt. The inhalation breath releases the contraction of muscles and rolls the pelvis to neutral. Repeating the imprint again. The movement is small, it is minimal. It is driven through that activation of breath into core muscle. And she's going to exhale to imprint again. Feeling that release through lumbar spine, that mobilization at hip joint. And she has one more. Good. Finding neutral again, and we're going to come into, with our straight legs, into a pelvic press. So Belinda's going to do her best to maintain her neutral through the pelvis and spine. She's going to find a stronger connection down through her feet and through her arms. And she's going to use an exhale breath to press the pelvis up off the mat. Holding for the inhale, feeling length through spine and pelvis. And then flexing at the hips, she's going to hinge and lower the pelvis back down to the mat. Let's repeat that again. Using the exhale breath, Belinda's pressing her heels in, lengthening and opening or extending at the hip joint. Feeling like the sitting bones are reaching towards the heels in this position and then hinging at the hip to lower the pelvis and the spine back down. Great work. Let's repeat. Press down to lift up. Feeling that challenge of instability that the ball is creating and how that connection from hand through arm into shoulder is super important. Last one. The exhalation breath pulls her sternum down, connects her ribs, so she's very integrated and connected in her pelvic press position and lower back down. Fantastic. We're going to pull the ball in a little bit closer. Yeah, that's it. So we've got the heel and a little bit of the lower leg on. We're going to come into some pelvic curls now. So to make this more challenging, Belinda could have the heels a little closer towards the edge. To have a little bit more support, she can have a little bit more of the lower leg on. Let's stay in the parallel and hip width position. Good, let's start there. And then from here, we're going to roll up into our first pelvic curl. So allowing the imprint to initiate the movement, rolling up as far as she can into that range of motion. And then slowly rolling back down, dropping through the sternum and releasing. Very good. Let's go again. Yeah, how does that positioning feel? Just adjust a little. Yeah. Excellent. So you can readjust the position of the foot and lower leg on to suit the challenge that you want or that the client is able to achieve. And then rolling back down. Good. So we've got this unstable surface at the feet, so that connection or that stability from foot through leg to hip is so important. Feeling that connection through arms to help stabilize. And then trying to articulate through the spinal joints and hip joints as we roll up and down into the pelvic curl. Let's go one more. Really firing up through that posterior hip chain. And relax. Okay, fantastic. We're going to keep the legs on the ball. We're going to shoot the legs back up to straight, this time in your Pilates V position. We're going to keep the legs there as we curl up and go into hundreds. So yeah, that's good. Curling up for me. I was going to give you a nice little hands behind the head, but you're already there. Coming up into the chest lift, exactly, and then starting her breathing. So focusing on that inhalation breath, pushing right back between the shoulder blades. Full diaphragmatical breath. Good. And imagine that those arms are pumping through water rather than air, so it's a strong connection through triceps into lats. Excellent work. Good. I'm going to give Belinda some feedback. She's going to feel that her head is pulling back to where she can feel my fingers. Yeah, like a little chin tuck. So she's finding length in that flexion. Even though the heels are supported, she's squeezing and feeling that connection through the adductors. We're wrapping around through those hip external rotators. So even though we have a little assist, we're still working strong through the whole body. Lie down and relax. Well done. Okay, good. So from here, we're going to use the ball to assist us into some roll-ups. So you can actually come up to a seated position for me. The legs are out straight and the ball's just going to rest onto the lower leg. So if you can start with the toes pointed and the hands just taking hold of the side of the ball. Now, I'm going to get you to go into a dorsiflexion. So as you pull the toes back, that's going to roll the ball towards you and you're going to start your imprint. That's it. Keep feeling like your abdominals are pulling away from the ball as you roll down. Now we have the challenge of load as the ball comes overhead. Good. Reaching the ball all the way forward towards your thighs into your chest lift position and then using that load to help roll up. Point the toes and come all the way forward. That's it. So yeah, you can stay in that flexed spine. So let's dorsiflex through the ankle and that's going to initiate the movement of the pelvis. And then we're going to continue to roll down, thinking sternum heavy as the ball goes overhead, curl up and roll up, pointing those toes. Good. So the ball's just giving us a little bit more feedback. It does assist us as we're rolling back up, but we're definitely getting a challenge through the arm and torso as the load reaches back overhead. Good. Inhale to curl, exhale to roll. That's it. Now really feel that the lower spine and pelvis pull back as the ankles dorsiflex and then roll all the way down. Great work. Curling up, breathing in, exhale, roll all the way up to sitting. Good. You're going to roll all the way down for me. Let's stay down. And we're going to use the ball to challenge lever load in our spine twist supine. So if you can start with the legs in a tabletop position. Good. The legs are going to extend and you're going to pop the ball in between your ankles now. Very good. Reaching those arms out to the side and feeling that print from hand to shoulder. Good. So using your inhale breath, let's tilt the pelvis over to the side. Good. On the exhalation breath, we're thinking breath oblique integration as we draw back ribs, waist, pelvis. Good. Inhale, reaching over to the other side. And then exhale to draw back. So we now have the legs wide, which is a challenge in itself. We have the legs or the lever load extended, and we have the weight of the ball. So we're really ramping up that rotational control and challenge through the obliques and through the torso. Good work. Let's go one more to each side. Good. Feeling the strong connection from hand into scaps. And then drawing all the way back. Well done. Bend those knees. We can ditch the ball. Fantastic. And coming all the way up. Right. I'm just going to pop the ball here for now. And let's come into our oh, no, I'm not going to grab the ball. We're going to do, so for our leg and footwork category, we're actually going to come into some fitball squats against the wall. So my wall is going to be the fuse ladder. And then I'm going to get Belinda just to stand in front. The ball is going to be positioned into her lumbar spine. And we're going to start with the feet parallel and hip width. Good. Now, the legs come forward so that we're able to sort of maintain that sort of upright posture as we come down into the hip hinge. And then just going to interlace the fingers and bring the hands behind the head. And she's going to feel how that hand position is going to help her to navigate the posture and the alignment through the neck and the head. Okay, so from here, let's take an inhale breath to start bending through the knees and hinging through the hips. How far can we go? Maintaining that postural alignment, we're going to push through the heels to press back up to standing. Good. Inhale to lower down. Yeah, just adjust as you need. So stepping those feet forward. So you wouldn't be able to stand here except for that you have the ball behind you. And that's going to enable Belinda to stay upright or vertical in her posture as she flexes through the hip, knee and ankle. And then exhale to push back through the foot to come up to standing. Good. Inhale to lower down. And exhale to press back up again. Well done. Watching the tracking through the legs as she bends and press back up. Good. I think let's go one more. So really feeling that footprint pressing down, second toe, kneecap, center of the hip, and push back up again. Fantastic. We're going to do the same thing, but instead of parallel, we're going to step out to our wide V position. Good. So from here, adding that external rotation from the hip and still focusing on the tracking or the alignment of the knee as we flex through hip, knee and ankle and then push back up to straight. So much easier for the hip to come into that flexed position now. So you can go lower, but Belinda's just going to watch that she doesn't drop the pelvis below the angle of the knees. Inhaling to come down and exhaling to press back up again. Very good. Let's go two more in our wide position because against gravity, leg and footwork becomes a lot more challenging. Very good. Okay, Belinda's going to step her V into a narrow position or a narrow stance, but we're also going to be rising up onto the toes. So Belinda, I'm going to suggest that you move back a little bit towards the ball. That's it. We're going to have the heels connected in V. And let's take a smaller, yeah, that's it. Just so we're finding balance between the connection through the inner thighs and that external wrap. Good. Same thing, we stay lifted through the heels. So we've got that connection down through all 10 metatarsals. Bend as you inhale, push through the ball of the foot. Exhale to come up. Very good. Inhale, feeling length up through the crown of the head as we drop through the hip. Exhale to press. Well, we've got a stronger connection now through the foot and ankle stability. She's really feeling that squeeze of the heels and that press down, especially through the big toe joint. And come back up. She's got one more in this position. And then we're going to take the toe position out wide. Well done. Follow those heels. Stepping the feet out wide. That's it. Come back on yourself. Rising up. Feeling the balance between the legs. And then using the inhalation breath as we draw down into the footwork and then push through the toes to come back up. Great. Yes, well done. She's managing that angle of heel and connection from toe through arch very well. Great work. Let's go one more. And rest. Very good. Lower those heels and relax. Okay, now I'll put it all away and we're going to pull the chair out. So we are going to start with some calf raises. But we're not going to do our traditional calf press. We're going to set this up for a series. So, Belinda, can I get you to stand onto the pedal with both feet? The toes are parallel in hip width. You're just going to place your hands flat onto the seat of the chair, but so that we can get a good angle or enough, there's enough room for you to come into a nice spine flexed position. So think cat stretch for me. Good. And yeah, exactly. Now from here, you've got a good visual there, right down to the toes and the ankles. So we're going to start to lower and lift into the calf raise. So the heels are lowering down towards the floor and then she's pressing back up onto the toes. She's staying active within that ankle and foot range. So making sure that we're not just lowering down to a passive stretch, she's getting there and then she's pushing back up. That's it. She has a visual on the toes and the metatarsals and she's focusing on them pressing down into the pedal. She's also starting to print this connection from hand through shoulder into spine. That's it. So she's feeling the opposition between the hands pushing down into the chair seat and the sternum pulling right up towards the thoracic spine to create that flexion. Good. Let's go for 2 more. Excellent. And then Belinda's going to carefully step off the pedal with the feet parallel and hip width in front of the chair. And we're going to come into your washerwoman 1. Stretching the arms up. And we're going to take our standing roll down to bring our hands onto our pedal. We're going to stop just when the hands connect. So she's back into that same shape. She's feeling the connection from hand through arm up into that spinal flex position through the torso. And then from here, she's going to use that exhalation breath to press the pedal down. So feeling that activation through abdominal wall and then inhale. She's going to open through the hip to come back up again. Good. And then exhale to press down and inhale to come up. That's it. You should think like it's a tug of war. The pelvis is going to stay still for as long as possible as the pedal presses down. Now keep the pedal down for as long as possible as the pelvis starts to move to get it back up again. So we're deepening that pattern of spinal flexion with each repetition. Good. You should feel how that really increases the connection through that front abdominal wall as we're pushing and pulling against that pedal. Last one. Good, rolling yourself all the way up to standing. Excellent. You are now nice and warm as we come into our pike. So I am adding a spring. We have gone from 1 on the top. We're now going in onto 2 springs on 3. And Belinda, I'm going to get you to step on so that the arch of the foot is onto the pedal. See that pedal all the way down. And bringing the hands towards the forward portion of that seat. Good. So she's imagining she's standing right now for that washer person 1. There's going to be a little bit more weight through the lateral border of the foot, but she's still going to feel how active that medial or inner arch is, connecting up through the inner leg to the pelvis. And then we're just going to shift the weight slightly forward to start lifting that pedal up. She's going to get that up as high as she can. And then from here, she's going to feel that tilt of the pelvis, tucking under, sitting bones draw back down to the heels to lower. Well, using your exhale breath, press through the hands, lift that pedal up. How high can we get it? Well done. And then she's going to think imprint or draw the sitting bones down to control the lowering, pressing up on the exhalation. Good. Inhale to lower back down. Let's go 2 more. Excellent work, and last one coming up. So really feeling how we've prepared through sequencing to get into a better movement pattern for pike. Excellent work. You can carefully come off that. And I'm going to get you to sit on with the feet coming down onto the pedal, preparing for our oblique pike now. So once the pedal is down, yep, turning around, bringing the hands to our new start position on the side of the chair. And once we've got the feet positioned onto the pedal, we're going to think about squaring the shoulders off to that new front as much as possible. Good. From here, using your exhalation breath to curl up or to push up and then lower back down. Great work. And coming up again. That's it. So we're feeling that opposition between the front hand pushing in and the sternum lifting up towards the thoracic spine. That will really encourage the oblique connection. Good, you've got one more on this side. Keep feeling that assistance of the pedal through leg up into pelvis to get the lower portion firing. Sitting down, let's switch and do the same on the other side. Good. The feet are connected. We still have a gentle tone and connection through the adductors. We're going to think about that imprinted position through the pelvis and how that pedal draws the legs up into the pelvis to get the lower portion of the obliques firing, pressing through the hands to pull up and then slowly lowering back down. Excellent work. Let's go for 2 more on this side. And then you can slowly sit back on and get off safely. Very good. We are going to come back down onto the mat. I'm just going to rearrange this a little bit. We're going to get ready for our hamstring curls. I'm just going to move this back a little bit. Yeah, that's good there. All right, so please bring yourself down, grab your little head cushion there. Again, I'm going to change this spring load to 1 on the top. You could be 1 on the top, you could be 2 on the bottom, you could be 1 on the middle. It's just going to depend on the client's size and strength. So Belinda is lying in her supine position and the legs are in a lengthened, elongated position, maybe just off straight, but making sure that we've got the heel right over that top portion of the pedal. That's it. Good. Finding that neutral zone through the pelvis and the spine, and then feeling that connection from heel as we bend the knees and pull the pedal towards the floor. So Linda's thinking pull heel towards sitting bone, push down into the floor for a moment. Good. And then slowly start to work the straightening of the knees and the lifting of the pedal again. So again, just firing up through those hip extensors, those hamstrings. That connection from hamstring into lower back is really being highlighted right now, maintaining that neutral position through the pelvis as she presses down through the load. Good. Let's go 1 more. Okay, so from here, let's come into hamstring curl 2. So Belinda's going to move herself in a little bit closer so that we're more at a right angle or 90-degree angle through the legs. That's it. Now the heel moves from on top to just in front. And actually, just for safety there, Belinda, I'm going to put a non-slip mat on. Yeah, just so we definitely have that solid purchase from heel. Okay. So let's take 1 pelvic curl up and down to start. So from here, let's imprint roll up, just to make sure that we've got the feet in the right position. We are the right distance away in our setup from that Wunda Chair pedal. Did you need to adjust that? Maybe back a little bit? Yes, yeah. Good. Okay, and then let's come into our hamstring curl 2. So initiating with that imprint rolling up into the pelvic curl position. Now the challenge is to maintain that hip extension and add our little curl through the hamstring. Good. Once she's done 3, she's going to roll the spine back down again, getting ready to repeat. Good. So arms are important. We're pressing down. That's going to help us maintain and achieve that hip extended position. Good. And Belinda's using that same feedback that she found in hamstring 1, heel to sitting bone, but amplified as she comes into 2. Well done. Let's go again. Pressing up, knees are reaching forward, sitting bones pulling to heels, heels pulling to sitting bones to get that hamstring activation. Well done. She's got 1 more to go. Rolling up. Good. She's going to squeeze, control the lift, squeeze, control, yes. And then rolling all the way back down and rest. Very good. Please come up to a seated position. We're going to sit, but actually with the legs on either side of the Wunda Chair today. So this is a variation of our spine stretch forward from mat work. Where Belinda is going to place her hands onto that Wunda Chair pedal and just feel that she's gently connecting or pushing that pedal down. Good. So our spine stretch forward initiates from a nod of the chin, but what she's also going to do is as she's nodded the chin and pulled the sternum back towards the bra strap, she's going to take that whole spine and roll back a little bit away from that Wunda Chair pedal. And as she does that, she's feeling the integration of pushing down through the arm that helps to activate through the abdominal wall. Then from here, she's going to resit, stacking all the way back up again, nice and tall. Good. And let's go again. We're going to nod the chin, soften the sternum back towards the bra strap, push down. Feel that we're coming into that imprint or pulling the waistline back, and then re-center, sitting yourself up tall on your ischials, head reaching to the ceiling. Good. And then exhalation breath, nod the chin, pull the sternum, imprint, roll away. Good. The load of the pedal is helping to highlight and activate through the abdominal wall, and then she's going to roll back up again, sit nice and tall. We've got 1 more to go. Exhalation breath, nods the chin, pulls the sternum away from the pedal. That pulls the pedal down. Rolling all the way back up. Come up and center. Excellent. So from here, we're going to come into our rolling like a ball. I'm going to move this away for you. So feeling the previous exercise connections to help us bring ourselves into that active abdominal flexion for rolling like a ball. And Belinda's going to have her feet connected. She's got the feet pressing forward into the hands, and she's feeling that the elbows are pulling wide to the side. Using her inhale breath, she's initiating from an imprint as she rolls back into the rolling. Exhale, think chest lift to bring up. Good. Inhale to roll. Exhale to curl. Good. And then again. Good. So there is an element here going for me, Belinda. There is an element of momentum. And we are trying to find the balance between control and momentum against gravity. The pelvis is trying to reach up towards the ceiling, and that will give us the force and the roll to come back up again. But then can we control that acceleration as we come up? Good work. Belinda's got 2 more. Excellent. The feet can rest for a moment. Good. So from here, we were going to come into an open leg rocker. But for Belinda's scoliosis, that roll with a long lever doesn't work so well. So we're going to take Belinda into her open leg rocker preparation. So she's going to come back and find her start position where she's rolled just back off those sitting bones in her rolling like a ball position. And I'm going to get her to really define that shape of flexion through the spine. So nod the chin and feel like you're trying to almost put your head between your knees. Yeah, without losing the head on neck. Yeah, good. Now from here, we're going to take both legs up into our rocker position. So she's going to use an inhale breath and she's going to extend the legs, and then she's going to come back in and she's going to bend. Great. Now that was good. So as we unfold the legs, the arms are going to try and lock out straight because we need to feel like we're lifting the sternum and the eye line up a little bit because we've got our teaser spine. Good. And then we're rolling back into our ball shape. Very good. Breathing in, coming up, we're straightening the legs, we're finding the balance We're locking into those arms and growing tall through neck and head, and then pulling back into our start. We've got one more to go. Well done. Breathing in. Tease the spine, so we've got the imprint, but we've got the lift, we've got the lock out through the arms, and then we're curling back in for rolling like a ball and rest. Fantastic. I bet you feel like a kneeling lunge now. Okay, so bringing yourself upright to a kneeling lunge from mat work. And Belinda, I'm going to get you to start in your 90-90 lunge for me. Yeah. And we're going to bring the hands behind the head. So from here, I want you to really feel like you're stacked from back knee through to the center of the pelvis, ribs and head. And then we are focusing on getting that extension through the hip. So for some of us, we might need to then feel like we're coming into that posterior tilt, bringing the pubic bone up towards the sternum before we then attempt to shift the body weight forward. So we're going to press forward and then we're going to come back up again. And let's do that 3 times. So we're pressing forward, there's a sustained hold, and then we're pushing from the front leg to come back up again. Good. So we're really focusing on maintaining the top of the pelvis reaching forward as we're increasing the angle of hip extension and come back up. Excellent. Let's bring the hands down to the ground and fold back into your hamstring stretch. So sitting back, if you want a little bit more of a stretch into that dorsiflex, good. And Belinda, I'm going to get you to push up onto your hands actually. So bring the arms back where they were, straighten those arms for me. And so we're trying to get a little bit of a longer spine position. So you can sit back. And can you straighten your elbows for me? So we're a little bit more, yeah. And can we feel that if we've got that straight hip hinge, we're affecting more stretch through the hamstring. Good. And let's come back up. Let's do a few where we're moving from hip flexor to hamstring. So thinking about the angle of the pelvis, you're going to lean forward. Good. You're going to fold at the hip. You're going to come back. But you're going to feel like your sitting bone of the lengthened leg is reaching right back away from you as you're lifting your eyes and chest up towards the front. Good. Come back up again. And let's go hip flexor. Good. Hands are going to come down. And we're feeling that the sitting bone is reaching away from the heel. Well done. Coming back up and let's switch sides. Okay, so taking a moment just to set up, feeling that alignment from kneecap through center of pelvis, ribs, head, and then just managing where the pelvis needs to be, pubic bone towards sternum, and then starting to shift forward. Good, and then controlling back up again. So for Belinda on this side, it's a little bit more challenging, just because of the want to come into lumbar extension on this side due to the scoliosis. So I'm just giving her a little bit of feedback, tactile feedback, where I've got my hand just on her ASIS, and I'm encouraging that to go up towards her armpit as she shifts forward. That's better. So we're then able to manage that position of hip extension without pulling into that lumbar extension. Well done. Good. Let's bring the hands to the floor. Let's fold all the way forward for the first stretch. So rounding the spine over. That's it. Getting that full flex, dorsiflex through the ankle. Now from here, let's press from the hands and straighten the spine back up again. So working a little bit more on that flat back hip hinge. And then let's move between the two. So coming up, we have our hip flexor lunge stretch. And then hands come down, and we're feeling like we're pulling that sitting bone away from the heel, and then coming back up again. Pressing forward. Good. And lunging back. One more time. Excellent work. Okay, we're going to come back up onto our chair now, and we're going to come into a prone arm press for our arm work. So to keep this on one on the top, just so that we can move into the second set of exercises. So you can choose to go heavier or lighter for your prone arm press. But we're going to come on pressing the pedal down to the ground and then just getting organized so that you've got the torso weight enabling that pedal to press down with ease, but still maintaining that alignment from wrist through shoulder. So for Belinda, we're going to print her legs in a parallel position, but I want her to feel like she's pressing down through the thighs. So she's still reaching out, fully extended through the back of the knees. That's it. She's feeling like her sitting bones are reaching towards her heels. Excellent. And then she's going to hover the pedal just up off the floor. And as she hovers the pedal up off the floor, I want her to feel like she's almost tucking her ribs into the front of her trousers. So she has that abdominal control. And then we're just going to feel like the head and the neck are lengthening out. So from here, let's go elbows narrow. We're going to breathe in to bend, breathing out to push. That's it. So as the elbows bend, the load comes out of the torso and it really starts to dial up through that back extensor chain. And she's then having to manage, or can she control that length as the load changes, decompresses and then compresses back in. Well done. Let's go one more. Good. We're going to turn the fingers to point in. That's it. They don't have to come all the way in. Sort of think 45 degrees. And then from here, elbows are bending wide to the side and then pressing out. Very good. So even though the elbows are bending out and pushing back down, Belinda's still feeling like she's got a little bit of pressure through the palm of the hand. So the hand is still pushing down as the elbows bend, and this is going to create that oppositional force that she needs to maintain that scapular control on the back of the rib cage. Well done. One more. Good. Okay. Belinda, you can let that pedal press down for a moment. And we're going to come straight into, you're going to think prone leg series from your small apparatus workbook. So Belinda is going to actually bend her legs in. So we're in a little bit of an external rotated position with the heels together and the knees apart. And I'm going to get Belinda to come into a nice little flexed foot here. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to start with the knees dropping a little bit down towards the floor. So she's feeling that heaviness through the thigh. Good. She's going to lift the pedal just up off the floor. And we're feeling that connection quite strong through those abdominals. So that cue of tucking the ribs into the front of the trousers. Now Belinda has got to maintain that, and she's going to exhale to feel like she's pressing the feet up towards the ceiling, and then inhale to drop the thighs back down again. So she's going hip extension as the legs lift, and then lowering the hips back to neutral as she comes down. As she's really at her end range hip extension potential, she's really feeling that connection through the abdominals to support and stabilize that lumbar spine. Well done. Exhale to press. Inhale to lower, and she has one more. Very good. Now from here, we're going to come into phase 2. So she's going to lift up as if she's done 1. Now from here, Belinda's going to extend her legs and her upper thoracic spine. Just the upper thoracic. Yes. And then from here, we're going to bend the knees back in again, and then the legs and the torso lowers together. So let's do that coordination again. So from here, we're already up in 1. Now she's pressing the legs out as the upper thoracic extends. Now the thoracic comes back down as the legs bend. Good. And again, inhale. And she's thinking basic back extension. So her sternum is swinging forward, the legs are reaching back in opposition, and then she pulls back in through the knees to lower the torso down. Excellent work. I know this is hard. We've got 2 more. Sternum swings forward as the knee extends out. And we're keeping those thighs as lifted as we can as we bend the knees back in again. Excellent work. Last one. And controlling back and resting down. Fantastic. Coming up for me, let's release that back extensor chain with a counter stretch. Let's come into your washer person. Yeah. Okay, so standing with the feet at the back edge of the pedal, let's roll down, bringing the hands onto the pedal, keeping the weight of the pelvis stacked over those legs. Good. So I'm going to get Belinda, we're not going to come into the thoracic extension component. I'm just going to get her to feel like her crown of head is following the line of that bar as she pushes down the pedal rather. So lengthening out, we're feeling that spinal elongation. Good. But I'm even going to get you to go a little bit more flexion bias for me, Belinda. So tuck your chin in a little bit more and just feel like the crown of the head is reaching towards the pedal. Now from here, we're going to go flexion bias to roll up. So sitting bones pull down towards the heels and your spinal flexion pulls the pedal back up again. Good. We're going to breathe in to start pressing down. The hip flexors, the spine is elongating from flexion to a more neutral position. Excellent work. And then the exhalation breath navigates that pull up from the hip. Excellent work. Let's go 2 more. Breathing in, we're going to lengthen out. Good. And then using that exhalation breath, the abdominals are pulling you back up. Good, last one. And you're feeling that nice length through the back extensors, lengthening in the hamstrings and lengthening in the erector spinae. Good. Rolling up. This time you can roll all the way up to standing. Excellent. Now, for the next part, we're going to use the fitball again, and we're going to come into our fitball side overs and our fitball prone swan. So what you need for this ideally is a wall or something secure. What I'm going to do today is turn my Wunda Chair around. I'm connecting it to something solid so that we have that safety aspect and it's not going to move away. So the mat's going to come down. And I'm going to get Belinda just to kneel facing the front. And the leg closest to the chair is going to come forward. The ball starts in quite snug towards the thigh. And then we've got to lift ourselves up. Exactly. We want to try and bring the ball right underneath the center of the hip joint there. We've got the feet staggered and pressing back into that solid wall or Wunda Chair. That's it, Belinda. I think, yeah, further under if we can. And then the hands are going to come behind the head once we are on balance, and we're going to come all the way over. That's it. So we are really feeling like we're kicking back through those legs and just taking a moment in this lateral flexion position. Now, for the sake of me teaching Belinda today, we're going to go from lateral flexion just to neutral. That is better for her spine. So using your exhale breath, Belinda, you're pressing into those feet and you are working your body up to neutral, lengthening from foot to head and controlling the spinal flexion down over the ball. Good. Pressing through those feet and feeling that shortening and lengthening. Excellent. And then lowering back down through that segmental control. Let's go a little faster for the next few. Inhale up, exhale down. Good. Feeling the opposition between the feet pressing back and the head trying to lengthen towards me. Good. Not overdoing the lateral flexion on this side. Yes. 2 to go. Excellent work. And lowering back down. Fantastic. Carefully coming off. And let's move on to the other side. That's it. So, yes, the leg that is closest to the chair is coming forward. We're then carefully launching ourselves over the ball, trying to get the center of the hip joint on that sort of forward portion. Yeah, that's it. So if the ball is further up the body, there will be less movement in lateral flexion and there'll be more ability to laterally flex the further it is down towards the thigh or the knee. That was good. Are you feeling secure there? That's it. Okay, so we've got a strong press back through those feet, and we're inhaling to lift up, we're exhaling to lower down. Good. So breathing in just to neutral, but how much more elongation can you get through your spine? That's it. So we're trying to bring Belinda into, yes, an active position through the top side, but with as much elongation through her spine as she can. Very good. We're just going to try and relax off a little bit through here. Feel that the head pushes back into the hands. Yes. And come back down. She's got two more on this side. I'm going to say, can you posterior tilt the pelvis a little bit? That's it. I think that's enough. Yes, well done. Good. So for that scoliosis, Belinda feels extremely different from right to left side because she has the majority of the curvature in her lumbar spine. Well done. Good. Okay, so from here, we're thinking high barrel swan. Yeah. So Belinda is going to again use the frame of the Wunda Chair to secure the feet, or the frame or the wall ideally. That's it. And then bringing the ball right underneath and popping yourself right up and over. Exactly. So the feet are going to be secured to the frame. We've got the knees hovering off. We're taking an active spinal flexion over the ball. We're going to bring the fingers to the forehead in the front there. Good. And can you bend the knees a little bit more as you come down? So we're really feeling like, yeah, we're curling through the upper torso, but we're also trying to get a bit of flexion. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Good. Okay, so from here, we're going to use an inhale breath to press the legs out to straight and lift the torso from flexion to neutral. Good. We're going to maintain that length for Belinda today, and we're going to press both arms out, extending the lever load and challenge. She's going to bring the hands back to the forehead, and then she's going to curl herself over, but not relax. And then from here, we're going to press out. Good. From here, we exhale to extend both the arms up. We're going to inhale to bring the hands to the forehead, and then lower back down. Good. I've chosen again this for Belinda's spine, where we're going from flexion to neutral. We're still working the back extensive chain against gravity, but we're not coming into a hyperextension through her spine, which her scoliosis does not love. Good. Pressing out, finding length. Awesome. Now I'm going to get you to lift your eye line up a little bit. Yes, there. Now from here, the fingertips come back to the forehead, and then you're curling back down. She's got one more to go. Well done. Good. Feel the connection through the abdominals as well. Yes. Excellent work. And coming all the way down. And rest. Fantastic. Well done. So from here, this brings us to our final exercise before cool down. We're going to tackle our fitball cat stretch. I'm just going to move this mat out of the way. Please. And we're going to be using sort of a diagonal angle for this one. So Belinda is going to roll herself out until she's in her front support position. Good. I'd like you to aim for the fitball to be around the knee, just because we're going to be pushing into the flexion and the extension component. So from here, Belinda is pressing into her hands, thinking all things front support right now. Excellent work. Using our exhale breath, flexing through the spine, pulling the ball in towards the body. Good. Controlling that back out again and back into her front support plank position. Good. Now we press from the arms. The shoulders are pushing in. That's it. We're thinking hip extensors to get those legs up even higher. And then she's pulling herself back to her start position. Well done. Let's move through that now. So she flexes in. She's controlling out. Now, as she pushes from her hands, she's already feeling that the toes are finding the ceiling, and she pulls back again. Great work. Let's go one more. Pulling in. Very well done. And we're thinking, press through those hands, lift, long extensor chain, good, pull back. Excellent work. You can walk yourself back. Excellent work. Well done. Come and sit on for me, and we're going to cool down just with some seated roll down. So we're just going to go nice and wide with the feet. We're going to bring the hands just to the front of the ball there. Good. And just taking a moment to sit, breathe, and just see how the body feels right now after all of that challenge. Feel the grounding through the foot, feel the grounding through the sitting bones, and then just gently start to fold forward with the nod of the chin, the softening of the sternum, and rolling just as far down as that feels comfortable to feel that release. Still keep the hands gently pressing into the ball so that you can feel that that assists and aids that release through the back extensors. And then using your next exhale breath, let's slowly start to restack, rolling, organize the pelvis, the rib cage, the shoulder girdle, the neck and the head. And she gets one more, nodding the chin, softening the sternum and rolling down. So the arms are going to guide. It's also going to help us to think about not passively dropping down into the roll down, but feeling like we've got this opposition between the hands on the ball, the abdominals lifting away from the ball, and creating that spinal flex position where we're releasing through the back extensors. You can breathe in and out a few times into the back of the rib cage there. Feeling how the breath also helps to release through the tissues. And then using her next exhale breath, she's slowly going to roll back up to her seated position. Very well done. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week for one more.